exhausted. Hey y'all, it's Ashley Bookish from, and I am back with another video. Hold on, I got Real Housewives playing in the background, and that's a no-go. Hey y'all, so I am here with my very late March wrap-up. March was a rough month. I think March was rough for everybody. We went from normality to kind of everyone having to shift so much. And I definitely suffer from depression and anxiety, just being completely transparent. So, having such a huge change in such a short amount of time really took its toll on me. So like for the month of March, I didn't really film. I wasn't really reading. I was really heavily like binge watching stuff, spending time with family. It's just been hectic. So as you can see, I am back in front of a camera, in front of my shelves. I'm only here for today, so it will be this video and another video that will be shot in front of my shelves. After that, most likely you will see me in a more like nature type background, back with my parents. I'm only here because baby girl does have to get vaccinated, and I could not miss that doctor's appointment. So other than it being like completely terrifying to have to go into public and having to come back here, I think I am finding my balance. So hopefully we're good. So I am here to do my March wrap up. Like I said, I am not going to do the stats. I did not have time to do the stats. I just don't feel like doing the stats. I will make sure that I do the stats later. That way I have all of my stats documented for the year. But they will not be showcased in this video. We're going to try to make this video as quick as possible, so it is not super long. There isn't a lot of materials. I think in the month of March, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I read 14 things in March, which is good, but a lot of it you're going to see is like some of it was picture books, most of it was comics and manga, so that's the reason why it ended up being so much. And if it was anything that was physical, 9 times out of 10 it was an audiobook. Actually, I don't think I read any prose books in physical format in the month of March. It just wasn't happening, y'all. So like I said, done rambling, let's jump in. So the first thing that I read in the month of March was Something is Killing the Children, issue number 3 by James Tinian IV. I cannot tell you anything about this because it is the 3rd issue, but it is a great series if you're interested in kind of a horror / supernatural comic book series. I definitely would recommend checking this one out. I need to read the last 3 issues, 4, 5, and 6, but I did end up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. After that, I picked up a children's / middle grade graphic novel. I'm going to say more so middle grade because the content was a little bit above children's, and it's junior high drama, and this was written by Louise Simonson, Jane B. Mason, and it was illustrated by Sumin Choi. And it is a lot more serious than that cover because I picked it up because I was like, oh, this looks like something like super dramatic, something that'll be easy to go through. And it definitely hit some hard-hitting topics like body image, talking about health issues, friendships, and confidence. And it was just so much. So like the book is actually separated into 4 different stories, and the stories don't necessarily overlap, but you do see people from like previous stories kind of like as background characters in other stories. And I think it is definitely written, it definitely is written for a middle grade audience, and some of the aspects were dramatized, but I did like that at the end of each section they did have kind of like a discussion of the topic that was covered, whether that was like self-esteem, self-image, whether it was related to health or not, and bullying was a topic that was covered as well. It was just really great. I thoroughly, think that it would be appropriate for that middle grade audience. It was not the best middle grade comic that I read by far, but I did end up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. After picking that up, I had started listening to this book before, but then I had to send it back to the library because I didn't finish it in time, so I ended up finishing it in March. And that is Pet by Eweke Emezi, and they wrote a phenomenal book. I really don't even know how to describe it without really spoiling it because it was so deep, but it clearly was about this world where monsters had been eradicated and they no longer existed. And it kind of touched on what do you do when monsters are there, but society kind of wants to turn their back on the existence of these monsters. They don't want to accept that they're real. So it was just such a crazy situation to even think about. And at first, for the longest time, like, I didn't know where the story was going, and then I slowly began to figure it out, and it kind of blew my mind. The rep in this book is absolutely amazing. It is the lead character, the protagonist, is a trans girl. We see a polyamorous relationship occur. I think there is a non-binary character, so it's just really, really great representation all across the board. If you have not read it, I definitely would recommend checking it out. I really liked the narration. I may listen to it again because I feel like there were some details that I missed that I need to be more aware of, but I did end up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. Okay, so most of you guys don't know, but I've been on this Jason Reynolds kick lately where I am trying to read through his entire catalog. I have listened to and have read within the past month. I think now I've read, let me see, I think I just finished Long Way Down. I've finished this one that I'm about to talk about, which is For Everyone. I'm reading Look Both Ways. I just finished his Miles Morales book. I have finished Ghost. So I'm slowly working my way through his entire repertoire, which is, it's a lot to work through, but I'm getting there. So I started listening to For Everyone, and it's a really, really short audiobook, and he reads it, and it's a poem that he wrote when he was younger, and it is such a great motivation. It was specifically for me because it came at the perfect time. I had just been in a moment where I was like, dang, I haven't accomplished anything in my life. Like, I'm, at this point in my life where I have a daughter, and I'm starting to think, like, what have I done? Like, what have I done to make life good for her? And I felt like I haven't done anything. And I think that Jason Reynolds, as he is, he's just a beautiful soul, just a beautiful man in general. He gave me this feeling just through this poem, essentially, that, you know, there's always time to accomplish things, and you shouldn't really get down on yourself if you haven't done what someone else has done, and you shouldn't compare yourselves because people do things at different speeds, at different rates, at different times, and you don't give up your dreams just because you haven't accomplished it by a certain age. I think about even his story with his writing. Like, he was a writer at one time when he was in his 20s, and he got his royalties and everything, and he didn't really understand how the publishing industry had worked. He went and blew all the money. And then in between his success now as a well-known author, and then, like, he ended up just in odd jobs, like working in retail, teaching for a little while. Not really, like, it's just intriguing, like, not really doing what you think he would have been doing in between the time that he published his first book and now that he's this successful author. And that made me feel like, just because I'm at this age in my life and I feel like there's still goals that I want to reach, I don't have to give them up because I haven't accomplished them yet. And it's not for me to compare myself to other people who have done this and done that, and they're the same age as me. Like, everybody does everything in their own time, and I really appreciated that. So that definitely got a 5 out of 5 stars from me. The next book that I ended up reading was Dream Sun Volume 1 by Ichigo Takano. And it is a manga series that I really ended up enjoying. It is about a young girl who ends up running away from home, and she ends up living with all these guys, and they support her in such an interesting and phenomenal way. I thought it was cute. I know a lot of people have been talking about it, so I was really happy to pick it up, and I definitely will be continuing with it, and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. After that, I read 2 picture books. The first one being I Believe I Can by Grace Byers, and then I read It's Okay to Be a Unicorn by Jason Tharp, and these are 2 that I read with Kenzie. I will not go into details about these. I still plan on doing a picture book review for March and April, because I did one for January and February, but I will figure it out some way, somehow. We'll see. After that, I read American Royals by Catherine McGee, and this is one that I ended up listening to on audio. So the whole concept behind this book is that there is this kind of reshaping of American history. Instead of George Washington becoming president, he inevitably becomes king of America, and this royal family is a family that is part of his lineage. So I thought this was going to be really, really cool. I am a history buff. I got my bachelor's degree in history, and my favorite part of history is just looking at like that colonial period, and I thought that this would be kind of like a unique take on his lineage. But what it really ended up feeling like was a retelling of British royalty in America. I didn't really see much difference between an English monarchy and what would have been an American monarchy. I know that there were some issues with rep in the arc, and someone said that they would end up, I think Bethany, she said that she had heard that it had been corrected in the finished copy, but I listened to it on audio and I still didn't see any reps, so I don't know if the audio was not the same as the physical, y'all. I don't know, but I think it's kind of hard to tell history of America without those voices of marginalized groups that help build the foundation of this country. And that definitely should have been addressed in what would have happened with those marginalized groups, and it was kind of like it was just kind of washed away. So, and if it was and I missed it, it was so insignificant to the book that it wasn't important. All that to say, basically, I liked the drama contemporary aspect of it, but she could have wrote this book without the American royal part tied in. I think it was unnecessary, and that's just my opinion. When I wrote my review on Goodreads, I was teetering between a 2 to 3 stars, and I think I'm still teetering in between a 2 to 3 stars right now. I just am not, I don't know, just not enjoying it the way I thought I would, or I didn't enjoy it the way I thought I would. So on Goodreads it says 3 stars, and I'm gonna leave it at that. After that, I did end up reading volumes 5 and 6 of Food Wars. Can't say much about these because it's in the middle of a manga series. I do have a review of Food Wars, a video review, which I will link in the card symbol above if you're interested. I think I cover volumes 1 through 10 in that video, if I'm not mistaken. It'll tell you, but if you're interested in a full-blown review, I definitely would check out that video. And my ratings for those, I believe they pretty much stay the same. I also have written reviews of these that I'll leave down in the description box, but I did end up giving volume 5 4 stars, and then I ended up giving volume 6 5 stars. the next thing I read, I am quite embarrassed to say that I read it, but I did not realize that Kindle Unlimited also gives you access to certain comics, graphic novels, and manga. And a lot of this stuff is kind of like independently published, at least on the manga side. Some of it's not. Some of it, you have access to some really great manga series for free, and I'm like the first like 6 or 7 volumes. Like I know Attack on Titan's on there. And I think Full Metal Alchemist is on there as well. Or no, Fairy Tail is on there. And there's a couple other well-known, like, mainstream manga that are on there. But then I found out that there was kind of some, like, not so mainstream manga on there. And I didn't realize how risque it was. But I read My First Time Was With My Boyfriend's Little Brother. And this was by Kiha Chihana. And I gave it 2 stars because I was just reading random manga, and I gave it 2 stars not because it was explicit. That didn't bother me, but there was a force scene in there that was not addressed, and it was explicitly forced. It was a rape scene, and it was kind of normalized, and it was just kind of glazed over, and I didn't like that at all. I did not enjoy that at all. Not in the least bit. So I would not recommend checking that out at all. I don't even know why that passed for any type of reading material. The last book that I listened to on audiobook was From the Notebooks of a Middle School Princess by Meg Cabot. This is her first book in her middle grade series that is kind of a, not kind of a spin-off. It is a spin-off of The Princess Diaries, because, and you'll see why it's a spin-off of The Princess Diaries. I did not know that, but it is a small spin-off of The Princess Diaries. It's about this girl who gets picked on and bullied in school, and she, doesn't have her mother around. Her mother passed away, and her father kind of keeps his distance. She doesn't know much about him, so she lives with an uncle and aunt who don't really treat her well. They treat her as an outcast, but she has such a positive attitude. And then she is made aware of some stuff and some surprises, and it works out for her in the end. And I really thought it was cute. I thought the audio was phenomenal. Great narration. And I definitely will be reading the other, I think, 2 or 3 books in the series. I think it's 3 more. And I ended up giving that a 4 out of 5 star. And the last thing that I read in the month of March was a reread for me, and it was Paper Girls Volume 1. And this is written by Brian K. Vaughan and illustrated by Cliff Chiang. I loved it. Gave it 4 stars. Same rating that I gave it the first time that I read it, and I'm part of a comic book club. And this was one of the books, well, this was the series that was picked out, and we read a volume each week and then we discuss it. I thought that this is such a, I thought that it's not a thought, it's, I think it is such a complex series. It is a science fiction based series that takes place in the 80s. It involves time travel and monsters, and I will always tell people, when you're starting Paper Girls, do understand that there is going to be a lack of clarity when you first start reading it, and that's okay, because that's Brian K. Vaughan's intention. I think sometimes that turns people off, but this series is completed. It's 6 volumes, so if you are able to access it through Hoopla or your library, I definitely would recommend checking it out now, since it is finished, and reading it in its entirety, because I know, like, having to read it issue by issue, it's so hard, because the story is just that crazy, that fun, and that interesting. And I did end up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. Alright, y'all, so that is it for my March wrap up. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I discussed. Let me know what you read in March. Hopefully my April reading month will be much better. I think it is. I think it's going a little bit better. Still a little slow for me, but with everything that's going on, I'm taking it easy on myself. I hope everybody is staying safe, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content from me, click the subscribe button. And as always, I'll be back with another video soon. I hope you all have a good evening. Bye.